College Cup champions. Syracuse men's soccer caps off its best season in program history with a win over Indiana for its first title ever. Despite a late goal from the Hoosiers to send the game to extra time, the Orange nailed not one, not two, but 6 penalty kicks to take home the crown. We'll have all the coverage from the win over the next hour.
When Syracuse and Georgetown collide, the expectation is fireworks and a whole lot of drama. But last year was the wrong time for the Cuse. Could the Orange add a win this year against their most heated rival?
And SU Women's Hoops is starting to win at just the right time with ACC play starting next week. A pair of home games for FLJ and crew. How about a total of 176 points scored for the Orange? We'll show you the highlights on the bench. Starts right now. Hey, welcome into the CitrusTV studios for the final on the bench of the fall semester. He's Cameron Ezeir. I'm Nick Zelaya. Syracuse men's soccer put a ring on it. 2022 College Cup champs beating the Indiana Hoosiers after 110 minutes of soccer and 7 rounds of PKs. The Orange take down the 8-time champs.
It was a heavyweight bout, and the entire time you thought, is Syracuse really going to blow this? And they don't. Indiana, they wanted that 9th star. The band was going crazy, but the Hoosiers denied a chance at the 9th title. In Syracuse, they can rejoice.
We have plenty to talk about this soccer team, but first, we get started with our headlines. Tough news for the SU football program. Former coordinators Robert Anae and Tony White are being hired by NC State and Nebraska. Both coaches were in upstate New York for just one season and helped turn the Orange into a legit ACC team for the first half of the season. Anae joins the Wolfpack as its new offensive coordinator, and White heads to Nebraska to become the newest defensive coordinator under Matt Rule, who was hired after the season to replace Scott Frost. Jason Beck will take over as OC for the Pinstripe Bowl in the 2023 season.
2 of the most legendary figures in Syracuse basketball were honored over the weekend and added to arguably the most prestigious list Syracuse athletics has to offer. Jim Boeheim and Pearl Washington were inducted into Syracuse's Ring of Honor at halftime of the Georgetown game on Saturday. Boeheim is the only active head coach with over 1,000 wins, while Pearl was a 3-time All-American and 3-time conference first-teamer at Cuse from 1984 to 1986. The 2 SU greats join Ernie Davis, Jim Brown, Floyd Little, and Roy Simmons Jr. as the only members of Syracuse's Ring of Honor.
Before Friday's game, the lethal attacking duo of Levante Johnson and Nathan Opoku earned United Soccer Coaches All-American honors for the first time in their careers. Johnson is a member of the first team, something this Orange team hasn't had since Miles Robinson in 2016. And to put this award in perspective, only 5 Orange players have ever been a first-team member in program history. Opoku was a third-team member after a strong sophomore campaign, scoring 9 goals and totaling 24 points.
And after celebrating its first winning season since 2018, Syracuse softball finally released its spring 2023 schedule. The Orange opened up the year on February 10th with a meeting at North Florida before hitting the road to Raleigh for the Big Ten ACC Challenge against Purdue and Iowa. The Cuse will have to wait until March before its first ACC contest, a conference that Syracuse finished 7-15 in last season.
Let's get to the champs now. What a ride for the Syracuse men's soccer team. For the first time ever, the Orange are at the top of the college soccer world. Orange fans traveled down to Cary, North Carolina. They packed the dome for a watch party before the Monmouth-Syracuse basketball game tonight. Orange Nation did its job, but let's rewind and see how SU got to this point. They made their second College Cup appearance ever and came into its semifinals match without a loss since October 4th, which is wild, over 2 months. And with a spot in the title game on the line, SU met with the Creighton Blue Jays down in Cary, North Carolina. Let's get to the action now. Syracuse and Creighton for a spot in the College Cup title game. We'll fast forward now to the 37th minute off a corner kick, and Christian Curry eventually fires the ball and knocks it in for the first goal late in the first half. That would be the score going into the locker room with 45 minutes left to play. But we had a lot of scoring in this second half. 50th minute, Duncan McGuire How about his 23rd goal of the season? Just ridiculous. A crazy season for Maguire. And just a minute later, how about Nathan Opoku responds with his own goal on the other side. And Syracuse, they take the lead right back 2-1 over Creighton. A few minutes later now, 64th minute. What about that throw? And the nice header lands off the foot of Alfie Pope. He scores, and all of a sudden, we've got a 2-2 game again. But later on in the second half now, Syracuse, one last opportunity possibly to get into the title game. And guess what? They do. The two that did it all season long, Opoku, Levante Johnson game. Syracuse puts themselves in the national championship for the first time ever. 2 semifinals. That's all it's been for these two teams. And back in 2015 and now 2022, the two teams to make the semifinals. But only this year's team was able to make it to the title game. And it hasn't just been one player doing it all for the Orange. SU has 11 different goal scorers this year and are averaging just under 2 goals per game. The defense has also been stellar, giving up even less goals than that 2015 season.
This team is so exciting. A win over Creighton was history for the Orange, their first national championship appearance. So let's head to the Natty. But don't think for a second that Syracuse was taking its foot off the gas pedal after beating the Blue Jays. Even more stout competition. SU, an 8-time national champion. Indiana, for all the marbles in Cary, North Carolina. SU has never won the national championship. Indiana, in its 17th national championship game. Syracuse halfway through the first half. Nathan Opoku, 10 goals on the season. Let's make it 11. That's pretty, into the top left corner. And Opoku does the chicken dance all night long. You didn't see it there, but I promise he did it. Later in the first, Syracuse with an opportunity. Nope, it's actually Indiana's opportunity. Patrick McDonald, the volley to make it 1-1. Now it's tied. Another opportunity for Syracuse. Kurt Kaloff, right place, right time. The toe poke into the bottom left corner. 2-1 Syracuse at the halftime break. We're nearing the end of the second half. An almost own goal by the star Nathan Opoku, but it lands right on the line. It's not an own goal. We still play on, but here we go. Right here, Indiana, that's why they're 8-time national champions. Herbert Endeley, the 2-2 tie, and he's rejoicing. 10 minutes to play. No one scored in the extra time. 20 minutes of scoreless soccer. We head to the penalty shootout. Russell Shealy, he's the star. He stops the shot from Carson Henderlong, the defender. Kuchevsky misses, so now we head to group number 5, and it's Colin Byro slotting it in. So we continue on. 6-5. Levante Johnson has to make it, and he almost missed it. Bar down for the captain for Syracuse, Indiana. Let's give it one last look. Bar down, and that one almost landed on the opposite side of the line. Indiana thought, oh, 9th title. Nope, not yet. We'll have to go again, and this was Russell Shealy's moment. The second team All-ACC player, Russell Shealy, stops that shot, so you give it over to Anthony Sinclair, the senior captain from Costa Rica, for the title. You bet. Slots it in top right corner, and Syracuse, title winners for the first time in program history, and they deny Indiana, a Hoosiers team that's been to the national championship 2 out of the last 3 years, but they've lost both, and it's a memorable season full of firsts for Syracuse. 19 wins, that's a program history. That's a program record in program history. Opoku, Shealy, they were dominant in the tournament. Second ever ACC regular season and tournament championship. Guess what? Syracuse wins the ACC championship. They win their division and they win the title. That's the treble for the first time in program history.
Yeah, Cam, it's only fitting that this team and Indiana went all the way into the 8th round of penalty kicks, and our fantastic reporter Andrew Selver has done an amazing job covering the team all season. He joins us on the bench now. Andrew, first off, what a game. I mean, how can you ask for anything better to close out the season? Take me through the whole evening, getting to be there live and in person for that type of game.
Yeah, you can't ask for much better of a national championship game. These two teams went back and forth tonight. Syracuse scores the first goal. Indiana answers. The Orange immediately answer back, and in the 80th minute, IU strikes again to send it into OT. And same thing in penalty kicks. Both keepers come up with a save in the second round, and then nobody saves until Russell Shealy in the 8th round. It's just an incredible soccer game. Neither team really deserved to lose this one, and ultimately the Orange came out on top.
Andrew, 19 wins, a program best, like I just mentioned, a flawless tournament run that capped off the year. A lot to choose from, but from what you saw throughout the entire season, how did Syracuse win it all?
Well, it's really incredible what Syracuse has done this season, especially in the NCAA tournament, as you mentioned. The Orange winning every single game by 1 goal, and Ian McIntyre talked about it post-game today. This group was different than last year's because they knew how to win close games. They had the heart, they had the desire to get things done late, and you saw it multiple times along this NCAA tournament route. Syracuse could have gone home at any point, and the Orange didn't.
Andrew, I sit back and I try to find one specific moment about this team, and it's really hard to pinpoint one because it feels like there were so many. So how will this season be remembered years down the road?
Such a special year for Syracuse men's soccer. SU only loses twice, one of those when the Orange were down to 10 men against Virginia. And the Orange really ran the table, winning the ACC Atlantic title, the ACC tournament title, and then the national title. It's the best season in Syracuse men's soccer history, no doubt, and it's a special one that will be remembered for a long time in the 315.
And Andrew, thanks so much down in Cary, North Carolina. We appreciate your coverage throughout the entire season. I think Ian McIntyre does too. What a season for Syracuse. And Ian McIntyre, when he got back to Syracuse late in the night, all he could do was rejoice.
It's freezing. You guys are out at 2 o'clock in the morning. We've got snow on the ground, and we've just played a game on the last day of the college soccer season. Just the memories, it's a really special day.
Talk about this Syracuse fan base and the freezing cold. It's cold out, and they're out celebrating at 2 in the morning. We're just getting started on the bench. When we come back, 4 straight wins now for Syracuse men's hoops. Looks like this young team may be starting to figure it out on the floor. We'll show you how they were able to pick up a pair of wins when we come back.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back into On the Bench, Cam and Nick. Cam, give me your best rivalry in sports.
Ooh, I think in terms of basketball, I'd go with Duke,
Sure.
North Carolina. But if you want to talk about the pros, Lakers, Celtics in basketball.
Oh, of course.
You can't miss it. But yes, Duke, Carolina in college basketball.
I will say, though, I'm sad I didn't get to see those Patrick Ewing, Pearl
Right.
Washington battles back
Right.
in the 80s. I wasn't born yet. You weren't born yet. I don't think any of us were born yet.
Pearl's dominance and then Patrick Ewing's dominance inside. And then it adds to what the rivalry is today because it's no longer in the Big East. So, yes, I miss that too.
Well, a rivalry unlike any other, Syracuse and Georgetown, even a decade after leaving the Big East. These two teams and fan bases, they'll still like each other. The Orange starting to click with 3 straight victories and are trying to keep the momentum rolling against a much improved Hoyas team. compared to last season. Georgetown 6-25 last year. I mean, they were awful. Now they're 5-5. Syracuse in the retro unis 5-4, getting ready for a Saturday afternoon clash. But it was the Hoyas who got out to an early lead, 17-6. Jay Heath drains the triple from the corner. Primo Spears off the miss, and Syracuse, they're out moving. Symir Torrance picks up the rebound, and the nice little dish to Jesse Edwards, who slams it home. He had another big game, a double-double, 20 points and 11 rebounds. And how about John Bolajak? He's gotten a lot of minutes recently, getting feisty down low. The and one, a little flex to the crowd. I feel like every time you get that and one, you have to show off those muscles. An 11-point lead at the break for Syracuse. Joe Girard, not one, not two, not three, but a 4-point play. And then what about the defense? Edwards showing why he's the leading block leader in the ACC. Benny, on the other hand, flushes it home, and Syracuse picks up a giant 19-point victory.
SU's largest margin of victory over Georgetown since, you guessed it, 1995 and 1996. That season, well, John Wallace took Syracuse all the way to a national title game, but let's not look too deep into it. Syracuse now, their next test is just 2 days later. The Monmouth Hawks, how about that? A team that has not fared well against SU. And in this game, they didn't fare well against SU either. Syracuse comes away with an 86-71 big win. Judah Mintz, a game-high 24, a career-high 24 points, 6 of 12 from the field. Joe Girard had 16 points. For Monmouth, they're 1-10, and it showed in a 15-point loss in the Hoops. And Nick Zelaya is joined by Ian Nicholas to talk a little more about this Hoops team.
Yeah, thanks, Cam. No better expert to chat hoops with than Ian Nicholas. Ian, thanks so much for joining us on the bench.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So this team, they went on a little losing streak. They lost 3 in a row, but now they've won 4 in a row. How do you think this offense has improved over the last few games?
Well, Nick, it all starts at the point. And when you've got a talent like Judah Mintz, it really is a special thing to see. I mean, honestly, over his first 7 games as a playmaker, he wasn't doing anything particularly special. In fact, he was really bad as a playmaker. 22 assists, 18 turnovers. But as you mentioned, in this 4-game winning streak, 22 assists, 2 turnovers. So when Judah Mintz is making those right decisions inside the arc, off the pick and roll, when he's driving to the hoop, he's making the right decision more often than not. And as a true freshman, that's really exciting.
Yeah, Ian, you talk about Judah Mintz, and there's a reason he's been in the starting lineup for Jim Boeheim since day one. And speaking of the starting lineup, usually Jim Boeheim only throws 6 or 7 guys on the floor each time, but this season, he's been going really deep. He's been getting 10, 11 guys out on the floor. Who do you think's been the most impactful player this year off the bench?
Well, it has not been John Bolajak, but it's been really exciting to see John Bol unleashed. I mean, the guy's played over 15 minutes in 3 of the last 4 games, and the Orange have won all of them. No, he doesn't score the ball a ton, but he rebounds, he can pass the ball, he's got a very high IQ, which I know doesn't make any sense considering some of the boneheaded plays he made last year, but I really like him. And also, a freshman we weren't talking about at all, Malik Brown. In the last 2 games he's played, in just 40 minutes, 23 points, 14 rebounds. Get this guy some minutes. You want a guy who can rebound. Malik Brown, Jim Boeheim is your guy.
John Bull, Malik Brown, Ian Nicholas, they're all ballers. They're all in the same type of category.
I know about that.
Thanks so much, Ian.
Thank you, Nick.
Quick break here on the bench. Jim Boeheim's team, not the only one starting to roll. Felicia Leggett-Jack has her team playing at a top level, 8-2 to start the season with conference play just around the corner.
Thanks, man.
Oh, I think it's an air raid. A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed. I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it. I just want my family to be safe. But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
What are you, superheroes?
Just 4 brothers who hate bullies and love this city.
Whoa!
Gear up, guys.
Hey, thanks for spending your time here with us on the bench. That's Cameron Ezeir. I'm Nick Zelaya. Felicia Leggett-Jack, what an addition she has been to the coaching staff of the Syracuse women's team.
She's unbelievable. Maybe there's new juice around both Syracuse basketball teams once her jersey got retired. Hey, you put old 33 up there, you put her on the sidelines. The women's team is playing great. We already talked about the men's team, but yeah, Felicia Leggett-Jack, she can jump all up, all and down as she wants in the sidelines. She is a player's coach.
I think she could still go out there and hoop a little bit.
Now, the ball has rolled her way a few times, and the last couple times I've seen it, I want her to pick it up and just take a shot.
Seriously. Well, a road trip to New Haven ended up in a comeback win for Syracuse. So now back home to start a 4-game homestand in the Dome, starting with a MEAC opponent, the Coppin State Eagles. And Syracuse, no issues, back on the Dome floor. 93-75 in favor of SU. The backcourt of Deasia Fair and Tisha Hyman combined for 47 points. Moxie Staples led the way for the Eagles with 21, and Jewel Watkins, she added 19.
Syracuse riding a 16-game non-conference home winning streak, and after beating Wagner by 38 in each of the first 2 meetings between the schools, all signs pointed to Syracuse staying perfect at home. Right now 6-0, and they can make it 7-0 in the Dome. 7-2 on the season, can pick up win number 8 against the Wagner Seahawks. And this is a team that is led and spearheaded down low by Dariana Lewis. The Alabama A&M transfer puts SU up 6-0 2 minutes in. She would drive on the trail 8 minutes into the first quarter on the Tisha Hyman miss. Dariana Lewis put Syracuse back up 23-10. Deasia Fair got it going 33-17. We head to the break. Syracuse up by 21, and Fair kept it going. Nia Wilson as well. These guards, they can really do it all. All 13 SU players score in an 83-53 win for the Orange, and Nick Luttrell has more.
Win over Wagner. Syracuse women's basketball dominated in nearly every statistical category, including right here inside the paint, where they outscored the Seahawks 52-26. After the game, Coach Jack was proud of her team's performance.
I thought that we came together and we beat a team badly for the first time, probably all season. This is where my passion is. My passion is that paint. It's the ocean for us. I got a litany of moves that I can show these young ladies. When they get one, this is where I made it my living.
We love rebounding. It's a thing. Like, it's a thing for us. Like, Coach Jack always say it's our drug, basically. Like, just, you know what I'm saying, let us rebound. You ain't got to always pass us the ball. We know we can get it off the glass. So, yeah, it's very important for us moving forward because we know that in the ACC it's not going to get no easier.
And a big part of today's win, who you saw earlier, was Dariana Lewis, who Coach Jack compared to the great Dennis Rodman. It's pretty high praise from her coach for Dariana Lewis. Where does Syracuse go from here? Well, 1 week from today, their first ACC foe will come to town, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Reporting from the Dome, I'm Nick Luttrell, CitrusTV.
Nick Luttrell, our newest sports director. Great stuff there. Bring out the sticks. It's hockey time. No, we don't have Coach Barry Melrose, but even better, we've got Ryan Nelson to break down the newest addition to this team this year. That story and highlights in 90 seconds.
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why couldn't the Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where did cats go on vacation? New York.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah. Hey Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Back on the bench in our Citrus TV studios, he's Nick Zelaya. I'm Cameron Ezeir. I will say, Nick, I'm a West Coast guy, but it's December time in Syracuse, and that means one thing: hit the ice, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I was just outside before the show. It was 3 in the morning, I'm not going to lie. Doesn't feel great. 13 degrees, pitch blackout. Not the best feeling out there.
Yeah, but that's not the ice or the sno that I want. I'm thinking of the ice rink.
Oh, no, it was icy out there.
Oh,
I slept down our hill at the house the other day.
So you have to rent some skates, and maybe next time you can slide down. Syracuse is called the hill for a reason. Maybe you could slide down the hill on those skates.
I need to learn some lessons from the hockey team.
Well, it's a good thing. And hey, that's why you're paid the big bucks, to learn about transitions. If anything, one Syracuse squad that's been through the ringer is, as Nick said, SU ice hockey, and maybe we'll be through the ringer if we try to ice skate, which will probably never happen. Sitting 4 games below 500 at 7-11-1 on the ice hockey team. Nearly half of the Orange's games have come against ranked opponents, and over the weekend that didn't change when 13th ranked Vermont visited the Salt City for a 2-game set. Like I said, 13th ranked Vermont, Syracuse is 0-6 against ranked opponents in game number 1 of this little 2-game set. Vermont got it going early. 15 minutes in, Evelyn Blaze Savoy. That's a great name and a great goal. Good pass inside, 8th goal for the sophomore. That more than doubles her 3-goal tally from all of last season. We head to the second period, 1-0 Catamounts. 8 minutes left in the second period. Rayla Clemens, probably the fastest player on the ice, and Tatum White, she can shoot with the best of them, snapped the 6-game goalless stretch, which tied for the longest, or the 3rd longest, drought of her career. Teddy Toss, fundraising for the Children's Hospital. We head to the 3rd period, and well, Ariel DeSmet, she was great all night, 25 saves, but that goal by Corinne McCool was not cool for Syracuse, and then Vermont put it away. 3-1 victory for the Catamounts. Syracuse 0-7 against ranked opponents this season. They haven't beaten Vermont in about 8 years, and we'll see if that changes in game number 2. Dim lights in Kennedy Ice Pavilion. In Vermont, they did exactly what they did the day prior. A goal on the power play by Natalie Malinkova. And Vermont up 1-0. Later in that first period, Rayla Clemens, she assisted on a goal yesterday, but today she says, I'll take matters into my own hands. A breakaway goal, her 3rd goal in the last 6 games. But Vermont, they're 13th in the country for a reason. Corinne McCool, you've heard that name before. Vermont sweeps the 2-game set. And how about this? This is a team in Syracuse that I mentioned it, 0-8 against ranked opponents, but hey, don't lose sleep over the fact that Syracuse lost to Penn State and Vermont 4 straight losses. These 2 teams are really good at what they do. That's why they're ranked 12th and 13th in the country. Penn State 15 goals, while Syracuse, they struggled in the goal scoring department, and Vermont, one of the best defensive and offensive teams in the nation.
Well, heading into this year, there were some changes. In May of 2022, Syracuse hired Brittany Smith, an assistant from Clarkston, to take over at the helm of the ice hockey team a couple months into the season, and she's already made a lasting impact on the program. Our reporter Ryan Nelson details her start to the season.
That experience is great. Knowing what it takes is important. So now it's just focusing on what can make this program successful and give us those opportunities here. Every program's different, so you got to find the recipe for success here now.
Syracuse Ice Hockey's new head coach, Brittany Smith, won 2 national championships as an assistant at Clarkson. Smith is only the 2nd coach in Orange program history. Last year, Paul Flanagan led the Orange to the CHA championship. Captain Lauren Bellefontaine says, while it was new for the team, they appreciate the fresh face.
It's been a great change. I think we needed it just to get that extra push. And, coming off a championship, there's, a lot of pressure on us, but Brittany's done a really good job to keep us calm, especially, if we're down in a game. She, reminds us that it's okay, we got this, just to remain positive.
When a coach changes, usually the team leadership is asked to step up. It's no different for the Cuse.
So we have 5 people who are, in positions to step up and take bigger roles as leaders. So working with them over the next couple weeks to get kind of our structure in place will be exciting.
The players, though, they see a newer style of leadership by committee.
It's everyone is equal, everyone is on the same wavelength, freshmen have the same responsibilities as seniors do. So I think it's a more united feeling, everyone has a voice and everyone speaks up.
Even with the new coach behind the bench for Syracuse, their goal stays the same.
A ton of excitement coming off of last season, winning the championship. So that's kind of where we started. That's our outcome goal, and now it's paying attention to the process.
Ryan Nelson, Citrus TV.
Yeah, Ryan, excellent coverage on Coach Smith. But in just a couple weeks, Syracuse and Minnesota, they take the field on a baseball field for the Bad Boys Mowers Pinstripe Bowl down at Yankee Stadium. And it's been 5 years since the Orange played for a bowl game, but there's still plenty of history with SU football and postseason play. John Eads and Calvin Cristoforo, a couple of our fellow OTB anchors, they dive into it in our latest 2-minute drill.
Well, guys, that Syracuse bowl game is coming up, and to talk about it, you brought in, obviously, the big guns, not just because, but also when you want to talk college football, you bring in two of the greatest minds of the sport, John Eads, Calvin Cristoforo, and we're here to tell you about Syracuse's success, not success, a roller coaster ride of a career in bowl games.
We're talking about it because Syracuse actually made a bowl game. We're going to do it in 2 minutes or less, so Calvin, you better get going. Whoa! I'll join you.
Oh man, I think I hit my head on the way over here. And I guess the start for me was just as good as the start for Syracuse football playing in bowl games. Because let's just say things did not start out well for the Orange playing in the postseason. And when I say not well, I mean a 61-6 loss to Alabama in the 1952 Orange Bowl. But that was just the start to the Syracuse football bowl dark ages. Over the next 25 seasons, the Orange went 3-5-1 in bowl appearances, and that one, of course, the infamous 16-16 tie with Auburn in the 1987 Sugar Bowl, where the Cuse finished just inches shy of an undefeated season. But SU used that tie only for fuel, because it was about to go on a bowl joyride of success.
A joyride indeed, Calvin. Now, I wasn't alive for any of these games, but if you were a Syracuse fan in this time period, you were simply vibing. SU appeared in a dozen bowl games from 1985 to the turn of the century. Now, things started with a loss in the Cherry Bowl back in '85. Great game, by the way. But from there, the dynamite was lit for Syracuse. The ride wasn't sugar sweet to start, but then SU went on a roll. SU wins 7 straight bowl games, including 3 in back-to-back years between '89 and '90. Coach Dick McPherson responsible for that trio of postseason dubs. Then Paul Pasqualoni carried the mantle between '92 and '96. W's over The Ohio State in the '92 Hall of Fame Bowl and Colorado just 3 years removed from a national title in '93. SU closed out the 20th century with a 2013 win in the Music City Bowl. So in summation, an 8-3-1 record between 1985 and 1999. Not too shabby, eh, Calvin?
Shabby? Just like your excuse, punk. No, I'm just kidding, but I do feel like John and I are doing some sort of good cop, bad cop thing here, because again, my news isn't very good. That's because I can count on 2 fingers how many times the Orange went to the postseason in the 2000s. First, a win over Kansas State in the final rendition of the Insight.com Bowl, RIP, but a game where the Cuse held the Wildcats to just 3 points. Then, though, in 2002 and 2003, the Orange were physically absent from bowl games, and in 2004, the Orange were mentally absent. The Cuse got smoked 51-14 to Georgia Tech in the Cactus Bowl. Bad, yes, but not as bad as being ineligible, something the Cuse was all the way up until 2010, when it had a potential revenge date against Kansas State at the stadium.
You always got to watch out for those cats, Calvin. Now here in the 2010s, Syracuse did not make a bowl game very often, but when it did, it chose Dos Equis. Now, but Syracuse made 4 trips to a postseason contest, and the Orange won all 4. The decade started with a few trips to the Big Apple. SU edged out Kansas State on New Year's Eve in 2010, and then the Cuse did it again 2 years later against West Virginia. Doug Marone led the program to both of those victories. From there, Scott Schaefer took over, and SU beat Minnesota in the Texas Bowl in 2013. Bit of a lull after that, and another head coaching change. Dino Baber struck gold in 2018 with a 10-win season, punctuated by a blowout win over the Mountain Men once again. So how about that? 4-0 for Syracuse in the 2010s. Now the Orange have an opportunity to get the 2020s off and running. That's all for Calvin Cristoforo and myself, John Eads. On the Bench rolls on after this.
John, Calvin, let's get those stopwatches out. I counted 4 minutes instead of 2. Coming up on the Bench, you've heard of Performers of the Week, but with a more macro look at the entire year, it's time to break down the best individual moments of 2022 on the Hill. You don't want to miss it.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
That's Cameron Ezeir. I'm Nick Zelaya. Excuse this real quick. I'm going to go on a little soliloquy. Growing up in elementary school, middle school, high school, I always cherished getting my yearbook each year, flipping through 100 pages and seeing pictures of all the best moments and events, holiday dances, and most importantly, the sports. Not sure how many of you are getting one in college, so let this be your little yearbook.
I like that a lot.
Thank you.
I want you to read it again, but I need you to wear a monocle and then maybe sip some tea.
My apologies.
Yeah, I need a little more, a little more fancy out of you.
Well, let's start with our moments. We start on the lacrosse field. This was awesome. Senior midfielder Brendan Curry got his love and talent of the game from his dad, Todd, who played at Cuse in the mid-'80s. Curry needed one goal to tie his dad in career goals in the Dome against Notre Dame this past spring. Fourth quarter, in a span of 2 minutes, Curry tied it, and then he passed his father. A tough season for the Orange. They went 4-10. It was one of the worst seasons for Syracuse in a while, but such an emotional moment for the Curry family, and I'm sure something both Brendan and Todd will never forget.
I think the coolest thing about that, I was in the Dome, and Brendan, after he hit that mark in a game that was way out of reach, he pointed toward his dad in the crowd.
That was so cool.
Which I love, and of course Todd was a star, and Brendan as well. Back in February of 2017, Emily Harris-Schuck scored her first goal for Syracuse women's lacrosse. 5 years later, in April of this year, she tallied goal number 251. That's the lucky number, the most in Syracuse program history, and the player who said she bled orange in middle school never wavered from that sentiment, and if that moment wasn't impressive enough, that goal against UAlbany was her 53rd career hat trick. Just an unbelievable player, that being one of the many unbelievable moments in her career.
One of the best to touch on campus here. Going back all the way to last winter, the Syracuse hockey team, who had one of its best teams in a while. The Orange finished the regular season with wins in 7 of its last 9 games and topped it off with a CHA championship win in overtime against Mercyhurst. Sarah Thompson scored in the extra period and secured a spot in the NCAA tournament for just the second time in program history.
You want some more history? 2 decades in the making for Syracuse volleyball. That's how long SU's all-time kills record stood until Cuse outside hitter Polina Shimanova etched a moment in history against Louisville. Third set against the Cardinals and a kill for the record books, number 1,699. Shimanova set the freshman kills record, Dana Fiomi's Kodak moment in 2000, the previous record holder. That was always in jeopardy from that point, and the 5th year's moment turned in jeopardy into reality, with Shimanova's career coming to a close as the only Orange player with over 1,700 kills.
And I mean, we've got one more moment, and it happened literally 6 hours ago
I love
this point. If we're talking moment of the year, no surprise, this is the best team in Syracuse soccer history, and they surpassed the highest of expectations for this season, winning a program record 19 matches, going more than 2 months without a single loss, knocking off the #1 team in the country on the road, that being Clemson, and to wrap it all up, a shiny ring for the first time ever. So many moments for this team, and a very eventful way to cap it off. 8 rounds of PKs and a walk-off victory to become national champions.
Unforgettable. Unforgettable in Syracuse men's soccer now, you could say, the best team on campus.
Possibly. Syracuse Soccer School. Unforgettable moments across the campus. So many players and teams making the last 365 days memorable. Speaking of teams, let's normalize calling Syracuse an athletic powerhouse. Team of the year after the break.
Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Your girls have been with you through every moment of your life. They were with you when you felt unbreakable. with you that time you felt most alone. And with you when you realized you would never be. They were with you when you shared your love with the world. And with you when she became your world. Your girls have never left you. They're still with you right now. But how well do you know them? Knowing your breasts can save your life.
Our CitrusTV studios for On the Bench. That's Nick Zelaya. I'm Cameron Ezeir. We just broke down the best moments. How about we pull it back a little bit and go best teams? You like that?
Let's do it.
Let's get it. In with the new but feels like the old for Syracuse women's lacrosse. First year under Kayla Trainer, but it didn't feel like it. Fresh off a national championship loss the season prior, Syracuse impressed with 7 wins over ranked opponents in its first 11 games, not to mention a trip to the NCAA quarterfinals at the end of it all. Individually, no shortage of success. Megan Tyrell with 111 points and a finalist for the Tewaaraton Award. Emily Harris-Juck, she returned with over 60 goals and nearly 90 points. And Olivia Adamson starred in her first year, eclipsing 30 goals. And through it all, Syracuse was without Emma Tyrell for a portion of the year, Sierra Cockrell, as well as 2021 freshman sensation Emma Ward. How about that?
Yeah, and Syracuse field hockey, they proved last year that they were legit to the entire country, and then this year they backed it up with an even better 2022 campaign, 16-6, including a regular season with 6 ranked victories over top-tier teams both in and out of the ACC. SU started the season 7-1, and Ames Bradley turned this Orange squad into one of the best. That journey ended with an Elite A loss to Maryland in a shootout, but the potential and promise after this season is sky high for Syracuse field hockey going into next fall.
Let's get off the script for a second. Last team, and it has to be the best team, our team of the year, Syracuse men's soccer. I say go off the script because not much more we can say about it. Won their first national championship ever, made it to the national championship for the first time ever, program best 19 wins, and that's how we close things out. Syracuse men's soccer is the team of the year.
Yeah.
Pretty easy. Pretty
Champs.
easy, right?
That's all I gotta say.
We're gonna take a quick break on the bench. When we come back, a lot to get to. You know, performers of the week. Let's go performers of the year. Back to familiar waters when we return.
Hardware time, it's everyone's favorite awards, the Benchies. And I feel like it's truly an honor that we get to present these at the end of the year.
I didn't think that we'd get the nod, but we got it.
Well, we have to, this year we went with 5. It was super difficult to pick all 5, but we found 5. Tucker Dordevic starts us off with Benchie number 1, who had a 6th season with the Orange. Despite the losing record, he put up career numbers, 59 points, 47 goals, both which ranked in the top 10 of the ACC. His season included not only huge numbers, but also just some unbelievable plays. And now he's going to Georgetown, but he was so good with the Orange.
At least Syracuse beat Georgetown in basketball, so the salt isn't really rubbed in yet. Our second performer of the year, Karina Comans, who had an unbelievable season with Syracuse field hockey, 17 goals. That's the most single-season goals by a player since 2015. Not to mention, this SU field hockey team was on the cusp of a Final Four, and Karina Comans, like I said, one of the best on the SU field hockey team, and she proved it time and time again.
Give me another benchy. Let's head to the hardwood for the big fella, Jesse Edwards. Talk about putting the work in. 2 years ago, this guy was averaging 1.9 points per game. Now he's the leader for Syracuse in points, rebounds, blocks. He was doing good stuff against grown men playing for the Netherlands national team. Expect Jesse Edwards to put up big numbers like he's done in non-conference play when ACC play rolls around.
Let's stay in the dome. Let's put the hardwood back on and then take it back off, because why do we need Jesse Edwards? We have Megan Tyrell, the spring season of all time. 111 points. She scored 78 goals, 10 more goals than she had a season before, but she had 112 points. So if you know Megan Tyrell, it's probably, hey, she wishes she could do better.
And we wrap up with the final benchy, Russell Shealy, the guy that basically won Syracuse a championship tonight. He transferred in from Maryland, came to Syracuse. He didn't play very much. His 2 seasons weren't the prettiest, but this year, I mean, he's been unbelievable. His numbers are through the roof, and is one of the best goalies in the entire nation. One final break here on the bench. When we come back, we'll take a look at the history of this show and how we ended up, well, right here.
OTN is on all your favorite apps: Apple TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Search Orange Television Network or OTN. OTN has its best shows, short films, and CitrusTV on demand. Family and friends can watch OTN too. Watch the live stream of OTN to catch live CitrusTV news, live from Studio B, and Mornings on the Hill. On or off campus, watch OTN anywhere.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Closing up on the bench, let's talk about it. 35 years in the making, this show right here in these studios. There have been a lot of us, people before us, behind the cameras, in front of the camera. Our executive producer, Jesse Cook, talked with some former On the Benchers who helped to develop this show into one of the best at the Syracuse University campus.
CitrusTV, Hill TV, and UUTV have all been in the corner of Watson Hall, and that's where On the Bench started 35 years ago. But here's where each show starts, where we build a rundown, the schedule for every single episode.
This right here is our CitrusTV studio. You take a look around, a few wall monitors, a lot of cameras, but all of it gets put together to produce what is a culmination of the decades worth of programming on the Bench.
Yeah, 35 years of On the Bench legacy. It really means a lot to be a part of that. We're the executive producers. I'm Jesse Cook. That's Jared Johnston. And again, it means so much to be a part of such a long-lasting history.
Long-lasting, the oldest running student television program centered around sports. Doesn't get better than that for On the Bench. And you said that we have to look the part.
Yeah, maybe we should dress a little sharper if we're going to look like On the Bench anchors. Definitely looks a little more sharp now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you got to dress for success, especially the success that On the Bench has had for its 35-year history, Jesse. I mean, where does the name even come from?
Well, let's find out. Let's rewind through 3.5 decades of the longest-running college sports show in America.
Syracuse not only a fine center in New York City, but also the center of the college basketball world. Another season come and gone on the Hill, but not without its share of memories and drama. We are your Syracuse sports leader. We are On the Bench.
on the bench was because we were, as high school basketball players and football players, bench warmers.
Crazy. That's been around for 35 years. I didn't know that. I knew it was around for a while. I didn't know it was 35 years. I feel a lot of pride in that.
You know, the main focus when I was an EP is just to try to get as much interesting content that wasn't just highlights. You know, you want to mix it up and make sure that it's engaging to the viewers.
We have one studio that we have to share with 10 other shows, and we still are able to produce things that are higher quality than most professional networks.
So we had a lot of ideas. Some of them were terrible. Some of the terrible ideas came from me in terms of content. But it was really designed, to be totally honest with you, to get us on camera as much as possible and to get us on the air as much as possible.
Hi, I'm Sean McDonough, broadcaster for ESPN of the Boston Red Sox at Syracuse University, class of 1984. And whenever I'm back in Syracuse, I steadfastly avoid watching Hill TV. Hi, everybody, I'm Dick Vitale of ESPN and ABC, and you're watching Hill TV. I am Bob Costas. One of my great regrets about my time here at Syracuse is that you didn't have Syracuse's sports leader, CitrusTV.
Me and Mike Tirico can talk about his work at, I think it was UUTV at the time, and how he made appearances on the bench reading stat lines and headlines that were, you know, bland compared to the show that we have today.
I realized that my fraternity and my friends were going to be at WAR and UUTV, and the TV radio connections I had became very close with Iron Eagle and Mike Tirico. We talked about Doug Sherman, who's a longtime ESPN play-by-play guy now, who lives in Albany. Is a godfather of one of my daughters. We're very, very close. We text each other often.
And I had so much fun with the staff that we had at the time. I had a great AP crew, and man, I miss them dearly.
What I try to do from the very first day was instill that not only are we the best at Citrus TV, I want us to be the best television station in the country.
An OTB Year in Review edition, time for our images of the year.
That's all the time we have here today on the bench.
All right, that's going to do it for On the Bench. Thank you so much for watching in today and the past.
Whole lot of incredible history.
I'm getting teary-eyed
People
over here.
have walked into the studio and done OTB. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy standing here now watching that and know it's been 35 years.
Well, we've gone through the teams, we've gone through moments, we've gone through players. Let's get to the top plays of the year. That's the best part. And we start off with number 10. We go to the softball field. Syracuse and Georgia Tech. How about Kelly Breen making the nice diving stop and the nice throw home? And this was in a 1-1 ball game, bottom of the 7th. That saved the game-winning run. Syracuse wouldn't lose in the bottom of the 9th, but how about Breen putting her body on the line to keep the Orange Hopes alive?
Let's skip over to numero 9, Sarah Thompson, and this was for Hardware. Second ever CHA championship for the SU ice hockey team off the deflection, and Sarah Thompson against Mercyhurst in overtime gave SU the 3-2 win and a chip.
Number 8 now, Syracuse and Duke in the ACC tournament down in the Barclays Center. Going into the halftime break, how about Joe Girard drills the triple? They call him JG3 for a reason. That gave the Orange a 40-36 lead at the break, but the Blue Devils, they came out on top over the Orange.
Nick, you like JG3. I'm a big fan of OG2. Let's head to number 7. 7 seconds to go against Purdue. Syracuse down 3, no more. The long toss to Aronde Gadsden, and that was the hookup all year. Garrett Schrader to Aronde Gadsden the second. Syracuse would go on to go bowling, and that was a big reason why.
Back to the Barclays. Syracuse and Richmond this year. Richmond with the steal, but how about Judah Mintz? Someone call the SWAT team. Throws it off the backboard, not once, but there's Monir Hema for the backup. The block, Judah Mintz, oh my lord, look how high he gets up, and then Monir Hema comes out of nowhere. He says, give me that. the nice block Syracuse, a big win in overtime.
Number 5, why don't we take out the backboard and apply a goal? Joy Harmon wants in on the action. A little basketball block herself, but it's with her stick in the ACC semifinals against North Carolina. Unfortunately, Syracuse would lose in the conference semifinals and would end up losing in the Elite 8 in the NCAA tournament, but how about that slap?
Let's get to number 4. All the way back in the spring lacrosse season, Megan Carney, she's just better than everyone at lacrosse. I mean, she doesn't even look at the goal, and she somehow scores. I guarantee you, Cam, you were maybe on the call for this game. You call so many women's lacrosse games in general that you probably were, and you probably had a great call, but she just had a ridiculous shot there.
I'll give credit to another OTB anchor, John Eads, who was on
Shout
the
out
call.
Jeans.
Another OTB anchor, Ian Unsworth, on this call. An Olympico from Kurt Kaloff. I'll be honest with you, didn't fully know what an Olympico was until Kurt Kaloff did that from the corner right over their Vermont goalie's head, and that would send Syracuse to its first College Cup, the Final Four since 2015, and Kaloff, a big reason why. SU reigned champs.
I don't understand how someone can possibly do that.
I would guess.
That's just ridiculous.
A lot of guessing.
On Kurt Kaloff's call. Number 2 now, we'll go back to lacrosse. This time, Tucker Dordovic. Oh, stop it, Dordovic. Through the legs. He went through the legs. First, we had Carney going behind her back, and then Dordovic. First off, it was set up by a nice defensive play. The Orange moving in transition, and then Dordovic, he says, through the legs. And the best part, Syracuse upsets the number 10 team in the nation, 14-10, the Duke Blue Devils.
Well, that didn't lead to any hardware. Number 1 did, and it had to land at number 1. Good thing that Anthony Sinclair was actually looking, because if he didn't, this might have not been the game winner to send SU to a title cheer in the top right corner. It takes some balls to do that. And Anthony Sinclair, he's a senior from Costa Rica. He's been through it all. Syracuse, its first national title. Ian McIntyre, he's celebrating. Yes, it doesn't look like he's having a lot of fun, but I promise after the game he was. Syracuse, they hoist that trophy, and SU title winners for the first time ever.
He thought about taking off the shirt, but then he realized he'd get a yellow card and probably get it for next season.
Right.
But hey, that'll do it for this semester of On the Bench. Whole lot of Syracuse sports, and it's been a pleasure to share it all with you, Cam, of course, from all 8 of us anchors, and more importantly, the producers who have grown On the Bench to tremendous heights. Jesse Cook, Jared Johnston, Philip Galati, Anthony Vasquez, and Ian Nicholas. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the holiday season. We'll be back in January, and we'll leave you, as we always do, with our images of the year.
Dunks all over Sky Clark. What a catch by Aronde Gatson. It's Levante Johnson. He's got the turn. Johnson trying to get into the box and scores. Unbelievable. Hold on a minute, that player. Here's Gerard looking for another. He scores. He's got a man. He's got Johnson. O'Neal dispossessed from behind. Game instead it's Syracuse between the legs. Are you kidding me? Rebound, Thompson scores. Gerard heads. How about that? Good feed. Wow, bird whistle. It's a highlight reel goal and his 4th of the day.
Have a good night. We leave you with our images of the week.
Enjoy your images of the week.
Here are your images of the week.